Hi, I want to take a few minutes to speak with you about the importance of payroll and getting the most for your money. Now, a lot of people think that payroll is one of the fundamental costs of operating a florist. I'm inclined to agree. However, we do all know it's not the only expense. You must give thought to the amount of money that you're spending in payroll and exactly where those dollars are going. In this video, I want to just cover a few things with you and hopefully enlighten you and give you a new perspective on your payroll. So first, we want to take a look at what are the added fees in payroll? Workman's compensation, unemployment insurance, taxes, potentially health insurance if your employee has signed up for it and you're paying that. So what does an employee really cost you? Let's say hypothetically, you hire an employee for $10 an hour. After you figure in all of these additional costs, that employee for $10 an hour is now costing you approximately $13 to $14 an hour. Most people never take that into consideration because you're paying these fees to quarterly allotments and to agencies, be it the state or national, at different times. So you never really think about that going into your biweekly payroll. So I personally like to break payroll down into 3 departments: customer service, production. And when I say production, that could mean anyone from a designer, someone that takes care of your plants for you, anyone that comes in that processes flowers for you, maintains your cooler, rotating buckets, processing on a secondary day throughout the week. All of these would fall within your production department. And then there's your delivery department. And we'll talk more about each of these. Each department should be basing their payroll off the financial makeup of your orders. For instance, in customer service, this should be based from all of your incoming orders, from your wire orders, your walk-ins, your phone orders, and any traffic being driven by your websites. Now, please do not add your outgoing orders to this number because this is money that gets paid back out to either FTD, Teleflora, 1-800-Flowers, whomever the case may be. But this is money that does not stay with you. So do not include that within these figures. Next, we have your production department. All of this should be based on the product total of your orders. And when I say the product total, I mean anything that the designers are creating, be it the flower arrangements, fruit and gourmet baskets, plant orders, add-ons such as candy, balloons, stuffed animals. Any of those things are considered your product totals. And this is how we should be basing our dollar value for our production payroll. Next is delivery. That's a little obvious, but there's still a little misconception there. This should be based on the delivery fees that you are collecting. So let's move forward and decide, how do I know if my employee is profitable? Well, in production, industry standards say that a designer should be producing 20 times their base pay. I personally work from a 12 times base pay. For instance, if I have an employee making $10 an hour, for them to be profitable to me, they should be producing $120 in product per hour. So a good rule of thumb is to just spot check your designers and see at what level they're producing, because you may have the misconception that someone is really fast and doing lots of orders for you, but they're not producing to the level that they should to make their profit margin be where it should. Next is delivery. Most people would say that they decide if a delivery driver is profitable by the number of deliveries per hour. I personally like to have a driver deliver 1 every 15 minutes. So that's 4 orders an hour. Most of us keep our delivery drivers within a confined area. So this is a very obtainable goal unless you only have one driver doing say a 20-mile scope of deliveries, then that may come down slightly. But as a rule of thumb, your driver should be delivering one item every 15 minutes. Now, this raises the question with many people, do I deal with hourly drivers or do I deal with contract drivers? So hourly drivers, you have the set rate that you're paying them. In addition to that, they're in your vehicles, so you have additional cost involved with that as well. Anywhere from insurance, the tags for the vehicle, state inspections if you're required to have those, maintenance such as oil changes, tires, batteries, the potential of breakdowns on the side of the road and tow charges. All of these are costs that have to be factored in and taken out of that delivery fee. Now, the flip side to that is contract drivers. Depending upon the market that you're in, that will determine what you're paying your contract drivers. They are paid per piece per delivery. Let me clarify that. They are paid hypothetically, you're paying someone $7 per delivery. That means at that stop, if they have one item or if they have 5 items going to that same stop, they make $7 for that delivery. So the beauty of contract drivers is you have one set price. You know what you're spending. It's a very controlled cost. The only variable is the number of deliveries that they are making. Beyond that, you know the driver is costing you X amount of dollars because they're responsible for their own expenses, such as their gas and their insurance and their vehicle maintenance and all of that. So be very confident with having contract drivers. It's getting more and more popular across the industry and in other industries as well as the floral industry. So what should my payroll percentage be? That's a good question that I'm asked a lot of times. It really varies. It depends on what your profit margins are set up as. I personally work from a 22%. Now, the way that I get this is you take all of the extra costs that we discussed earlier, you add them into the base pay of what that employee is costing you. So if an employee costs you $14, another employee may cost you $18. It's depending individually. So you factor each employee's number of hours based on what they're costing you, and then you add all of that together. Now let's set that total to the side for a moment. Let's go back and look at all of your incoming sales that we mentioned earlier. Let's look at that pre-tax, because unfortunately tax is something that you have to pay separately at a different time, and it's not considered a profit. So let's just deal with the incoming total pre-tax. Once you get that figure, you take your total sales and you multiply it into your total dollars spent for payroll. And this will give you a pretty accurate percentage. You may be shocked the first time you do this. You could have a 60% payroll. You could potentially have a 40% payroll. It's staggering when you look at it for the first time and you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I was spending this kind of money on payroll. It's very easy to get away from quickly. So what does this mean? It means that you have a starting point to work from. It means that you're now aware of dollars that are going out of your store that could potentially be staying there to purchase additional product, offer bonuses, incentives, raises, whatever the case may be. But now you have that, so you can start making decisions. Do you need to cut back in certain areas? Are you overstaffed in customer service? Are you understaffed in delivery? Do you need an extra designer? So this is when you start getting creative. So you look at potentially being overstaffed in customer service. You have a couple of options. Do you have a customer service person that's ready for a break or a change and want to be cross-trained, and you move them into delivery? You have the potential of making them still an hourly driver at the same rate of pay, but you're shifting where that money is coming from so it better balances itself in the overall scheme. Or let's say potentially that designer that you needed. We all know to get an experienced designer, it could cost you $20 to $25 depending upon the market and the area that you're in. Not everyone has that type of money to spend when you're already staffed to a large degree. So maybe you look at that customer service person that may be creative and bring them into your design department and put them into production as a design assistant so that they can start learning and being taught how to design. And it's much easier to do that at a $10, $11, or $12 rate of pay than to bring in that high dollar designer. You have to ask yourself the question, do you have a strong foundation with designers that would enable you to have an apprentice, opposed to needing a full-fledged experienced designer? So all of these things are things that you should be taking into consideration. That is one thing that staying on top of your payroll and figuring these percentages out will allow you to do, and it will make your business much more profitable. So if you have any questions, any concerns, if I left something a little unclear, please feel free to reach out to me with email. Give me your phone number. I'll be happy to give you a call. We can discuss this more one-on-one. I'm happy to look at what you're spending, how you're spending that, offer suggestions. Just remember, we're all in this together. We'll get through it together, and just continue doing what you're doing, delivering those smiles, and have a great day. Until the next video, take care. Thank you.